All right, welcome back, guys, to another video. This is going to be another book study that I'm doing, but this book study is not one that's about nutrition. This one is predicated on chemtrails, or the scientific term is called geoengineering. And it's a book that I'm reading from the author is named Dane Wigington. He has a YouTube channel. I suggest you guys can go look that up. You can go to www.geoengineeringwatch.org, and his channel is very insightful. He gives these weekly broadcasts about what's going on with the weather and what's going on with current events that are attached to weather. And he's been fighting this for over a decade, nearly 2 decades actually. So I'm going to just start reading. All right. I hope you guys find interest in these books. The few views that I do get, like I said, I'm not trying to get popular off of this. This is just something that I enjoy to do. So rather than me just reading it for myself, I'm just reading it online and recording myself on my computer as I do the reading. And I encourage you guys to look into geoengineeringwatch.org by Dane Wigington. The guy's awesome. All right, I'm going to start reading. It says that this is an important endorsement and affirmation for geoengineering, a chronicle of indictment. So this book is going to expose those with the power, those who are in control. It's going to expose them for what they are. And when I keep telling you guys that we are in a war, we're in a war nutritionally, chemically, ecologically. I mean, just look around. We are bombarded. We are being placed underneath an inhibiting ecosystem that inhibits us from reaching our fullest capacity. And we are far from where we need to be, thinking wise and living wise. We think we're living, but we're not. All right. For many years, people have been asking me about climate control, geoengineering, global warming, climate change, greenhouse gases, and chemtrails. My stock response is follow the money. The most obvious one is chemtrails, what is also known as geoengineering, aerosol dispersions. That's what you guys see in the skies from those serious aircraft engines. That's not condensation, guys. That's chemical trails being dispersed from those jets. We can see them everywhere in the sky above us, as I just said. You can see it. But people don't even take the time to look up. They're too busy looking at their cell phones. What people don't seem to realize is that we are not just seeing contrails. And contrails is a term that's shortened for condensation trails. It's not contrails. It's chemical trails. Condensation doesn't stick like that. It doesn't coagulate that way. It dissipates, it spreads, and it quickly dissolves into the stratosphere. When you're talking about chemtrails, it sticks. Those are chemicals, aerosols, they stick. What people don't seem to realize is that we are not just seeing contrails, which dissipates quickly, as I just said, but instead a spraying into the atmosphere of sulfates, such as aluminum, barium, and strontium. To reflect back the sun, a poisonous cocktail. I'm sorry, let me go back here. It says what people don't seem to realize is that we are not just seeing contrails, which dissipate quickly, but instead a spraying into the atmosphere of sulfates such as aluminum, barium, and strontium. To reflect back the sun, a poisonous cocktail that eventually rains down on all living things, be they animal or plant life. And I want to ask you a question. Who do you think is in charge of those things? Do you think the Europeans are in charge of this chemtrails things, or do you think this is something that the melanated people are in charge of? Who do you think would be in charge of destroying nature and destroying the stratosphere and the atmosphere and destroying our planet with chemtrails? Who do you think is the likely candidate to do that? The European or the Negroid? I'll let you be the judge. In the summer of 2013, after much pressure from fellow British Columbians, I requested from the government of Canada through Freedom of Information, and it's an act called Freedom of Information Act. Like, they can't hold information from you. That's something that they passed, and it's sort of misleading too, because the information that they give you may not be all that factual, but they are required to give up the information to you underneath the Freedom of Information Act. So he requested from the government of Canada, through the Freedom of Information, their involvement in climate control programs. After a rather lengthy wait, I received a 47-page report, of which 10 pages of relevant information were completely blanked out, and 6 pages blank, with only the statement, quote, information withheld pursuant to sections of the Access of Information Act. So much for freedom of information. So here you go. The Freedom of Information Act, even though it's a law that's put in place, but it obviously doesn't work here. It's subjective to those who hold the information. It doesn't seem as if they care about that act. They obviously didn't give him the information that he needed. It said, in quote, information withheld pursuant to sections of the Access of Information Act. That's what they told him. He didn't get anything. The report did state that solar radiation management, which is also called SRM. So that's the abbreviation for solar radiation management. I'm going to say that word a lot on here, so I want you guys to take notes. Take notes on your cell phone, or take notes with a pen and paper. SRM it's an abbreviation for solar radiation management. I want you guys to take notes on that, because as I'm reading, a lot of the times I won't say solar radiation management. I'll just say SRM. So I want you guys to understand what that means. SRM stands for solar radiation management. The report did state that solar radiation management, aka SRM, was underway and dealt extensively with a number of approaches to combat greenhouse gases, global warming, and climate change, and identified 2 types of geoengineering, those being carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation management. It goes on to say that science is conveying on the need to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions immediately in order to limit global warming to 2 degrees Celsius. The document refers to a program to increase the reflectivity of the atmosphere via sulfate injections. And when you think of sulfate injections, that entails aluminum, sulfate, strontium, and barium. So those things are not good to breathe in. Just an FYI. While they're trying to allegedly fix climate change and global warming, they're making people unhealthy. But you're going to see as I continue to read that it's not about global warming. The very act of geoengineering is the cause of global warming, is the one major factor of it. There are other factors as well, but you can't talk about global warming without stressing or putting emphasis on geoengineering. And that's something that no one talks about on the major news networks. They don't talk about the chemical trails that are being dispersed in the skies. They keep talking about carbon emissions and too many people are driving on the roads, and we need to move to electric things and move to electric vehicles and stop using fossil fuels and all this other nonsense. But they don't tell you that chemtrails plays a huge role in this as well. All right. Continuing on. So the document refers to a program to increase the reflectivity of the atmosphere via sulfate injections, a process said to be the anti-geoengineering activist, said to be by the anti-geoengineering activist, the spraying by airplanes into the atmosphere of aluminum, sulfate, barium, and strontium, and evidenced by what appears to be contrails, jet condensation trails, except that instead of disappearing in seconds, they spread and stretch from horizon to horizon. That's where you get the unusual cloud formation that you guys see. So a lot of times you guys think that you're seeing real clouds. You're not seeing real clouds. You're seeing the dispersion of chemtrails that starts to spread from horizon to horizon. They linger, crisscross, and spread for thousands of feet in the sky. The report also identifies stratospheric aerosol injections, SAI. Write that down. We have SRM, solar radiation management. Okay, I want you guys to write this down as well. SAI, which stands for stratospheric aerosol injection. Again, I just started reading, so as I continue to read along, I won't say stratospheric aerosol injections all the time. I'll just say SAI. So I want you guys to understand when I say SAI what I mean, and when I say SRM what I mean. SRM is solar radiation management. SAI is stratospheric aerosol injections, okay? All right, so the report also identifies stratospheric aerosol injections as a relatively cost-effective process, and that the spray evidence remained in the sky for only a few days. My concern is that when the government of Canada gives us what information they did, but in spite of freedom of information legislation, keeps a third of it secret, what information could the American government reveal? I'm also concerned that when governments try to influence nature by some government program, we're in trouble, big trouble. Thank you, Dane Wigington. Keep fighting for the total truth about secret government climate control programs. So all that I just read was by a guy named Bill Van der Zalm. He wrote that. He was writing that to Dane Wigington. This is something else that someone said in the book by Kevin M. Shipp. He's a former CIA officer and author of From the Company of Shadows, available in Amazon.com. He says that what is going on in the skies above us, what used to be the blue skies we all remember, are now covered with multiple grid-like thick streaks and remain for hours, then spread to a canopy covering virtually the entire sky. On some days, a thin white haze hangs over geography. Far from polluted cities and air traffic, man-made sunsets appear in chilling patterns. On the horizon, what is causing the record-breaking temperature fluctuations and bizarre weather patterns we are seeing across the globe? Would our government do such a thing? That's a rhetorical question. He knows our government is doing it. You bet it would. History has shown us this time and time again. In the book Geoengineering, which is this book that I'm reading, A Chronicle of Indictment, Dane Wigington presents compelling research and documentation pointing directly to covert programs of geoengineering. When they mention the word covert, it means that they're trying to cover it up. So when you think of the word covert, think of the word cover. Cover, cove, covert. The word overt means it's seen, it's over. You can see it over everything. So you have the term overt and you have the term covert. Covert means something that's hidden. So they're doing this covertly. All right. Covert programs of geoengineering, weather warfare, and climate manipulation. All right. If our government, and you probably wonder, what do you mean by weather warfare? Where natural weather is being attacked by synthetic weather. And when you have that combination, then you have chaos starts to ensue within the ecosystem. The hydrologic cycle becomes imbalanced. Places that require moisture don't get the moisture that they need. Places that require sunlight don't get it. You have extreme deluge in certain areas, and you have extreme drought in certain areas. So what you have is extreme weather shifts and extreme fluctuations. So that's what happens when the Earth's atmosphere and stratosphere is imbalanced and the ecosystem is imbalanced. So you have these major shifts. And most of these major shifts are not necessarily just caused by geoengineering, but I'll get into the content later. You have something called HARP, where they're using technology to shift the radio waves and do all sorts of things in the atmosphere to insert fake weather storms or fake snowstorms. And if you think that that's not true, then you need to do more research. Weather is controlled. And we all know that whoever controls the weather actually controls the world. And that's not my, don't quote me on that. That was said by, I think, Lyndon B. Johnson in 1962, I believe. He said that. If our government is engaging in a covert program of this magnitude so far beyond the point of no return, this represents a kind of tyranny never seen before in human history. This book is a must-read for everyone seeking the truth behind what is occurring over our heads. And this information may go over some people's heads because people really think that the government has their best interest at heart. The layman thinks that. The layman thinks that the government and politicians are going to solve their problems. So if you're on that wavelength, then this book is not for you. You might as well just exit the video and go somewhere else, because you're going to be wasting your time listening to me read about geoengineering. Another person makes a comment, Charles Jones. And the author hasn't even started yet. These are just people giving their commentary on the book. All right. Charles Jones, he said, former tactical weather reconnaissance pilot, dual qualified pilot, WB-66D weather and RB-66C ECM passive, and EB-66E ECM defensive, 1958 to 1962, and all Cold War of Europe, England, Africa, Mediterranean, and Atlantic. This guy, Charles Jones, says, for the world crisis book, all right, when people look up into the blue and see white trails paralleling and crisscrossing high in the sky, little do they know that they are not seeing aircraft engine contrails. Again, you're not seeing contrails. And what does contrails mean, class? Again, contrails means condensation trails. Okay? So you're not seeing contrails, but instead they are witnessing a man-made climate engineering crisis facing all air-breathing humans and animals on planet Earth. These white aircraft spray trails consist of scientifically verifiable spraying of aluminum, particles and other toxic heavy metals, polymers, and chemical components. Toxic atmospheric aerosols used to alter weather patterns, creating droughts in some regions, deluges and floods in other locations, and even extreme cold under other conditions. I just mentioned that earlier. Extreme weather shifts. Right? That's an indictment, or that's an indication of a sick planet. It's like a body. It's like a body. When the temperature of the human body gets extremely high, then you have a high fever. When it gets extremely low, it's not good. You need to have a homeostatic temperature to your body, a temperature that's conducive to all the anatomical functions of your body to operate optimally. And if you have those extreme temperature shifts, it's not good. It means that either your body is trying to fight something and it's overworking itself to excrete those toxins, or you're depleted of certain nutrients when your temperature goes in the opposite direction. So you have to look at the entire realm of nature like you would the human body. So when you have those radical shifts in weather, that's not normal. There's no such thing as it's hurricane season. No, it's not hurricane season. It's engineered hurricane season, because those who control the weather are controlling where they want these storms to go. Toxic atmospheric aerosols used to alter weather patterns, creating droughts in some regions, deluges and floods in other locations, and even extreme cold under other conditions. Developing disasters like massive ice melting and in and around the North Pole are never mentioned by privately owned and controlled news media. Remember, the media is controlled and owned, people. Information is controlled. That's why it's information warfare. It's information wars. No pun intended with that Alex Jones guy when he calls his show Info Wars. But we are literally in the age of war for information, accurate information, so we're not misled. And this channel is not going to be popular. You're going to find truth in the most obscure places that aren't popular. That's where you're going to find truth. My channel, you're going to find a lot of truth here, because people are not wired to seek truth. It's boring. People want entertainment and TikTok and Instagram reels. That's what people are into. People aren't going to sit through and watch some black guy in front of a camera read a freaking book. That's not happening. Especially if you don't have the bells and whistles and theatrics and music to go along with it. No one's doing that. Only people who are passionate to find truth and people who are simply getting tired of being lied to are those who are going to be very, very emphatic about, hey, I'm willing to sit through this guy's reading to see what he's getting to. And people like that are the people who are truth seekers. Everybody else just has their head stuck in the sand. All right, massive releases of methane gases are vented into the atmosphere. And methane gases is what causes global warming as well, if you're not familiar with that. He says massive releases of methane gases are vented into the atmosphere, contributing to area warming and to huge forest fires in far northern timberlands. Unfortunately, these unfolding catastrophes are not capturing the attention of America's citizens nor present-day politicians. Modern day citizens don't care. They don't care because they believe the government has their best interests at heart. Politicians definitely don't care because they're getting paid to keep quiet. Everyone is underneath some type of gag order. If you speak out against the government, all your money is gone. The government can trump up fake charges against you, blackmail you and throw you in prison, or at worst, they can just assassinate you and get you out of the way. So no politician in their right mind is going to commit career suicide by trying to speak the truth. The truth doesn't get you very far in this diseased world that we live in. It's inverted because it's ran by non-rhythmic people. And when I say non-rhythmic people, you know exactly who the hell I'm talking about. Unfortunately, these unfolding catastrophes are not capturing the attention of America's citizens nor present-day politicians. Failed politicians to date. Not even the radio frequency technology from facilities like HAARP. Minister, I remember I told you earlier about HAARP. All right, have captured the attention of enough concerned citizens and politicians of the world, even when these radio frequencies have the known ability to manipulate weather, earthquakes, tidal waves, deplete oxygen essential to life, and contribute to burning forests. And they even have new type of technology called direct energy weapons. It's like this Blu-ray technology that can just like completely flatten a region, and it doesn't affect things that are blue. If you remember what happened in Maui, I think Maui was it? No, not Maui. What that place in Hawaii? I forgot the name of that place. But you remember when that alleged storm came? Alleged storm? Yeah. Look up DEPs, direct energy weapons. If you think that I'm just pulling stuff out of my arse, I'm not. That's another piece of technology that's used to, to completely flatten certain populations. And they'll say it's due to natural disaster. It's funny how nature is always blamed for everything. Nature doesn't do anything to people. It's man that manipulates nature and uses nature as a weapon, weaponizing nature against what real weather would actually render to us. What is so noted above is collectively termed as geoengineering. Dane Wigington, founder and author of geoengineeringwatch.org, documents this worldwide crisis that must quickly be taken hold of because this weather warfare has already almost reached beyond the distinct possibility of massive devastation to all mankind and animals. Dane's book, that is a must-read especially by all caring Americans, titled Geoengineering, A Chronicle of Indictment, requires the collective backing all citizens in this fight to save all humanity and air-breathing animals. It's that serious, and it's time-limiting. This was written by Charles Jones. Here's another person that left a commentary about the book. Alan Buckman, he's a weather observer, United States Air Force, wildfire biologist, California Department of Fish and Wildlife. He's retired now. He says this: "Something's wrong with the sky" is a poem I wrote back in 2001 before I knew Dane Wigington. When we first visited, I knew something was happening from my observations as a scientist with the USDA. When I retired in 2008, I was free from the restraints, bullying, and harassment of my administrator and coworkers, who ordered me or used more physical means to try and convince me that the science was wrong and that geoengineering and climate change were false. Having known Dane now and followed the material witnesses and facts proving geoengineering is a solid fact, as well as proving it with my own research, I heartily recommend this book. Geoengineering, A Chronicle of Indictment. It may be one of the most important books of our time. Francis Mangels, B.S. Cum laude in forestry, master's in zoology, with 35 years in the U.S. Department of Agriculture as a soil conservationist, forester, and geology, fisheries, botany, hydrology positions, retired. He says, I find Dane's presentation in concert with my personal observations of weather modification and concerns for Earth biosystems. I sincerely appreciate his insightful efforts as he presents the case. As a trained weather observer, I began to closely follow jet cloud creations in 2002, and I soon realized jets were creating cirriform cloud cover almost daily in unusual and unnatural patterns. I discovered that only some jets emitted huge volumes of material that stayed suspended for long periods and spread out over the sky. Clearly, they are not historic contrails. With today's jet engines, they should not exist. I observed unmarked aircraft that fly in patterns, emit multiple colored trails and unnatural cloud types together, and cloud types are not based on natural weather fronts. Aircraft turn around, and for the most part, they are not commercial airlines. This is all empirical data and shows cloud creation is a managed program for sky cover and or haze. When he says empirical data, it just means data that you experience, not data that's given to you, data that you can actually see and experience for yourself. That's what they mean by empirical data. I had two immediate concerns with the program. First, such continual cover with cirrus creates greenhouse effect and increases global warming, dimming, and second, changes in cloud cover alter normal weather patterns that govern ecological cycles. Now, when it says with cirrus creates, cirrus is a type of aircraft. That's what cirrus means. When it says that first, such continual cover with cirrus creates greenhouse effects, remember, he's not saying serious like I'm serious. No, he's saying cirrus like not S, but CIRRUS. Cirrus is a type of aircraft. So he said he had two immediate concerns with the program. First, such continual cover with cirrus, which is a type of aircraft, creates greenhouse effect that increases global warming and dimming. Dimming is when the light, the ultraviolet light that's emitted from the sun, is not shining as bright as it's supposed to. So there's a smog and a gray and a dimming of the planet. No longer does the planet have that exuberance that it once had because of the inundation of chemtrails, or aka geoengineering. And second, changes in cloud cover alter normal weather patterns and govern ecological cycles. As a trained wildlife biologist for 38 years, this process, a serious alteration of species habitats and survival, including our own. Species that cannot adapt rapidly die off. We are looking at profound alteration of our natural world. Aerosols have to be nano-sized to stay suspended long enough to make clouds, and some now last days. Testing of water, snow, rain, and plants found wide accumulation of aluminum, strontium, and barium, and other metal mixes. California drinking water records indicate every drinking water supply in the state was first contaminated by these metals in 1987. Aluminum does not occur in a free state, but is tied up in compounds. So the contamination came from a manufactured source and applied by air. This fits the jet cloud scenario. Coal ash fly. Ash contains similar metals as a possible source of aluminum buildup in the soil turns it more basic and changes the plant communities and species composition. This continual spray program is believed to be the major weather factor in present species extinctions, massive global warming, and drought, floods, dying vegetation, deadly fires, and burn hotter with metallic particles present, and chaotic and extreme weather. Military weather warfare is based on combining metallic cloud cover with direct radio frequencies using HAARP, and HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. High Frequency Active Auroral, AURORAL, Auroral Research Project. That's what HAARP stands for. High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. So, directed radio frequencies using HAARP, scalar technology. They can move the jet stream, create superstorms and earthquakes, and much more using focused beams of energy to bounce off metallic cloud cover and amplify it to alter temperatures and hit a specific location hit at specific locations. Nikola Tesla said he could use this scalar technology, which is part of HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, to split the Earth with the correct frequency. The military wants to own the weather by 2025, and all the evidence suggests they are using it daily over our heads. I'm going to stop right there. Thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. It continues. This is not the end. I'm going to continue doing this as I'm doing the book about nutrition. I'm also going to be doing this book about geoengineering. But this is just the beginning. I have not even read anything the author has said. This is just people speaking on the book and speaking about Dane Wigington. So this is just the preface. This is the pages before you get inside the information that the author unveils. So thank you guys for giving me 30-something minutes of your time. I appreciate it. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right. Thank you.